way too long, and I've got a fabulous friend of mine here that I am so excited about, and I'm embarrassed it's taken this long to have you on here, Marleen. But um,
Thanks for having me.
oh God, are you kidding? No, you had all. It's entirely. This is. We're the ones who are excited. So we were just talking about this before, but the last time that I saw you in person, you were playing in the sand with one of your toys at JPL,
I
and
was.
maybe you
I
could explain to people what that was.
I
Because
always tell people I get that those years in the Insight test bed, it was a Mars lander. So we had a
yeah,
test bed at JPL with the full mock-up, the full, we called it Foresight.
yeah.
And
What you
it
called it?
was
That was it was called. Oh, what a great! That's
its name
fantastic.
was Foresight. It was
That's so
named by
smart.
my friend Nick Ryan.
Nice.
And we literally every day, my job that I got paid for
Mm.
was to show up and play with robots in a sandbox.
Oh,
And that was
I'm
absolutely
so
amazing.
jealous.
It was so much fun. That was I believe that was the spring of 2019 that you came over and hung out with us.
So,
But it was amazing. Insight was a Mars lander. We landed the Monday after Thanksgiving in 2018.
yeah, and we
And
watched it.
yeah, and it was so exciting because I remember just thinking like this is the dream that my child self, my 13-year-old self was just absolutely dying to do when I grew up. And so
And you got a
that was
call
awesome.
after that too that I was very impressed with as well. Once
I
that once
got a
they landed.
phone call. I was standing in the like common area there at JPL in front of one of the buildings, and I was with the French Kness team when I got a phone call from um, the book agents that had published Barack Obama's first book.
Yeah.
And so they called me and they wanted to work with me and write a book. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is crazy.
You
This
didn't believe
sounds
them, right? You
amazing.
were like, "No, you're not."
I was so confused because I was answering every phone call that day, right? Because
Mm.
I'm on call, I'm the testbed lead. If something goes wrong, I need to get into the lab as
Oh,
soon as
wow.
possible. And
Right.
so I was answering all the phone calls. I didn't even know who was calling. It's just like a cold phone call.
Yeah.
So I answered it and I was so confused because I was on this high, like we just landed on Mars and then someone's talking about writing a book. And I was like, what?
What?
So
What are you
yeah,
talking
so
about?
I was like, "I'll call you back. I gotta
These
go."
scam callers.
But that was a lot of fun. That was amazing. That was probably one of the most fun, nerve-wracking,
Oh,
anxiety just inducing, exciting days of my life. It was
yeah, I
so
can't
much
even
fun.
imagine. I can't even imagine. I mean, it was just even just being at JPL and sort of witnessing the history and all of these just like these brilliant people wandering around saying hi and
Yeah.
and just to have you walk us through that and your friends walk us through that. It was who was the lovely huge guy who took us there?
James.
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 James was
James worked
fantastic too.
Mars rover. He was on the 2020 program, and I
Right.
told him you were coming, and because I saw him wearing the "You Are Here"
Oh, right. Yeah, yeah,
STU
yeah.
shirt.
Yeah, 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 yeah. I
So
remember that.
I was like, "Oh, you love Stargate. Well, David's coming. You have to, you got to be somewhere where I'm going to walk past and you explain something to him." So that was James. That was a lot of fun.
That's so
Uh,
funny. I didn't know that was you. I just thought that was the way things worked. I was like, oh, we just happened to. Here you go. There's James who will take us around this part, and I was terribly organized. That was great.
yeah, yeah. So I
Uh,
had, I had, well, whenever people come visit, we try to make sure you guys are as welcome as possible. And
oh
so
my
we kind of set up people in different places to kind of explain what it is that
God.
you're doing. So I remember one time, um, we were in the test bed and someone gives me a phone call and they're like, "Hey, I'd like to bring my friend and her dad." And I was like, "Okay, that's fine." He's like, "Well, it might cause a bit of a like a problem." And I was like, "Why?" He's like, "Well, her dad's Billy Idol." And I was like, "Oh, okay.
Oh wow. Okay. Yeah.
Well, we'll set it up a little nicer for you." So we did, and we got whenever people come in, we would try to take pictures of them with the
Yeah.
lander. If
Yeah.
I was not giving the tour, if I was actually working.
Right. Right.
So
I'm gonna
that was
get
a lot of
us.
fun.
I'm gonna do a nice split screen here so you can see us better. Now that I've shown off my poster work, I'm not gonna spotlight it. I want to do two. Oh, I know what I need to do. I need to get rid of this, and then it'll give us the option. There you go. Look at that. There we go. Now there's the two of us.
Hey.
There you go. So wow. So you had Billy. So of course, I'm impressed that Billy Idol came up.
Yeah,
But,
that was one we had a lot of people come over.
well, you're
It
in
was
Pasadena,
definitely
right? So I guess you're not that
yeah.
far from the Mecca. And
Yeah, I missed the Matt Damon visit,
ah,
but I did get to give Brad Pitt a tour of
ooh,
the test bed, so that was kinda fun
oh,
for
that's
for a
pretty
Nat
neat.
Geo thing that they were filming.
God, I
So
this is the thing that I I'm so thankful for is that there's this weird, love of film and TV stuff, so that I get access to these things that I just never would without it. I mean, no matter how much your interest is, not all of us are smart enough to work our way up to was it testbed lead? What are you testbed? What's your position?
it's a test bed. I've always worked in test. So when
Mm,
I started, I thought it would be fun to break stuff.
right,
So I started
I'm good at that.
as what's called an ATLO engineer, assembly, test, and launch operations. And so I
Right,
did that for the first 10 years of my career. When I was single, unmarried, I could travel to Florida on a whim. I could live
right.
in Florida on a whim. And so I started doing that and I absolutely loved it. And then, yeah, when I got married and I had a kid, I was like, okay, I can't just like take off to Florida
Yeah, the roots
every couple
start the
weeks.
roots start to start growing
Yeah.
in at that point, don't they?
So I moved into test beds and now I get to deal I always explain it. When we build a spacecraft, we build 2. One goes to space and one stays here.
Mm.
And that's I'm in charge of the one that stays here.
And
And so
that's what you were playing with the
yeah.
I should stop belittling it by saying playing with, because you were solving a
I
pretty
was
serious
working,
issue.
David.
And it was a serious issue
It
at the
was
time, right? It had got
it was
the
the we were doing the mole anomaly. So we
mm,
had sent, an instrument to Mars called the HP cubed. It was a heat flow probe, and it was supposed to hammer down into the Martian surface. And, we it just kept bouncing in place. So what had happened was, you know how if you stick your finger in snow,
mm,
it doesn't fill back up. It just kinda leaves this s hole.
yeah,
And so we had landed on Mars, and we had landed in what was an old crater that had gotten filled in over time with frozen dirt,
huh.
regolith. And so when the mole went in, it just kind of bounced in place. And so we were set up in the test bed. We had built up the test bed so that we could actually use the mole to go down. And so it was a funny photo because it's
It's got
it's the
apple
lander up on
boxes and
blocks.
yeah,
The
yeah,
lander's up on blocks. I was like, someone took our wheels.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. It's
and
like someone
so
stole your hubcaps while you were the wheels while you were parked. Yeah.
yeah, and so that's what we did, and then we worked on the mole anomaly for a really long time. We tried our best, but
What
there's a lot
happened?
of
What
photos
what
about that.
happened? What was the end result with that?
It didn't go down.
Oh, oh, really? So it was just and because of
The
the material it was
duracrust,
going
it was this duracrust that we had landed on
in. Mm.
that didn't fill back in once the mole started going down. So
Oh, wow.
yeah,
Well, and
but
that's
we
just something you'd never know until you get there.
yeah, so we used our test bed for the arm, the robotics system that was on board to make sure that we can do everything we possibly could
Mm.
to try to troubleshoot. But
But that's I mean, it's funny, you sound disappointed, but the reality and it's hard not to feel that way, but the reality is that's science. That's the fun part of science. Like
it's
I always tell I
yeah.
always used to tell the Tech Bandits kids when I was doing more of that it's like, it worked. We didn't learn anything. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's this
I remember hearing something that Sue Smirkar, she's the PI for Veritas. She said she was the deputy PI for Insight. She said,
mm,
if you're going to be in this industry, you need to learn how to pick yourself back up.
yeah, yeah.
Because what we're doing is hard.
Mm,
It's no one's ever done it before. A lot of the stuff we're doing is the first time ever. I remember telling the robotics engineers that worked in our test bed, Phil and Christina and Ashtay, like, you guys are the first humans to ever have deployed an instrument onto the surface of Mars.
mm.
You guys know that, right?
Right, right.
Because we,
There's bound to
we,
be the odd issue.
yeah, when you're surrounded by geniuses, you don't often think that you're doing something great until someone
Mm.
tells you, like, oh, yes, you did this. You should be
It's that
proud. So,
perspective, isn't it? When you're
yeah.
surrounded by that and it becomes your daily norm, you forget. Like, I mean, when we came to JPL, I don't know how I was like, how do you get anything done? I would just be playing and looking at stuff and asking questions the whole time. Like, it's just, it's
And
extraordinary.
we do get to do that. That's the fun part. I took you to the high bay to go watch the Mars 2020 rover, Perseverance
That was
being built.
Perseverance going, right?
That was
Yeah, yeah.
Perseverance, and it was down there. They were working on it before it launched.
Oh, it's just
Um,
spectacular. It really is. It's extraordinary. Like, I mean, and just that those that an institution like JPL and NASA and such that these are happening is just. I mean, it's magnificent. But you've got the other thing that I don't think I really understood um, your entire story getting there
oh.
because yeah,
Yeah.
and again, you can talk about this or not if you don't want to, but I'm sure you get bored of talking about it. But for this old white privileged guy, it's extraordinary to hear just how much you had to do to get where you were. Like it's far enough to go up to space, anyways, but you had a whole bunch of Earth to get through before.
Yeah, I call it whenever I give a presentation on it, I call it the frontage road to Mars because
Ha!
I didn't take
Yeah,
the freeway.
yeah.
But it's so I was born in the state of Washington
Mm,
to a family of migrant farm workers from
mm,
Mexico. And so my childhood was just constantly moving back and forth, back and forth.
mm,
And so I would spend 9 months of the year in the United States and 3 months in Mexico. So we would
mm.
come and go. So in November, once harvest was done, everything was over, we would go back to Mexico. We would go
Right,
home.
right.
We had a house there. And so we would spend November, December, January, and part of February in Mexico. And then once the work started back up again, we'd move back to the United States and we would go to school in the state of Washington.
Wow.
But what's crazy about that is that you're not allowed to take American students out of school for prolonged periods of time. You have to be in school. And so we would enroll in school in Mexico. And
Mm.
so I would go down there every year, and we had the elementary school was in our town, the middle school was in the neighboring town, and then the high school was like the town 20 miles away, which
Oh
is
wow.
just, in Mexico, that's super far.
Right,
And
right.
so we would, because we also didn't want to fall behind our American classmates, we would have all the teachers create all the lesson plans from November to February ahead of time so that we knew what all of the homework was going to be and we could take it with us to
Wow.
Mexico. So when we came back in February, we weren't behind.
Right.
And what's fascinating is I grew up in a really big migrant town. And so half the school would leave. And so it wasn't just me, it was
Wow.
a lot of kids. And so that was just a common thing every teacher did every year. And school in Mexico was interesting because I was the ESL kid. Espanol was my second language
Ha!
because I grew up to about the age of 5 speaking Spanish, and then once I started elementary school, I
You're speaking
spoke
English.
only
Yeah,
English.
yeah. Because Washington's not particularly. I mean, it's not particularly world traveled, really. Is it Washington State? I remember being quite.
Washington's well, I grew up in Eastern Washington, which
Oh, I
is
guess we were.
all
Yeah.
potatoes.
Oh,
So
real. Oh, so there you go. Okay. All right. So maybe I'm
it's
wrong.
all
There you go.
potatoes.
Yeah.
And so we did have a really big Hispanic community in those very
Oh, I didn't
small
realize. Wow.
towns, but it was still everyone just spoke English because
Right.
that's all of our teachers spoke English.
Right.
And so when I would go to school in Mexico, I didn't always understand what they were saying. And so oftentimes I would go into class where they were teaching something I just hadn't learned yet.
Mm.
And so I could speak conversational Spanish just fine. It was when they started talking about meiosis and mitosis and
Oh my God.
mitochondria and cell splitting, I was like, I have no idea what they're
Yeah. Yeah.
saying. And so I would just write everything down and I would go home and I'd ask my mom and dad, like, what does this say? I don't
Mm.
understand. And so they would
So
explain
you
it.
just phonetically write down what you were hearing and then look up the biology terms and stuff.
Yeah, well,
Wow.
Spanish is very easy to write down because you pronounce every
Mm.
letter, right? So
Ah. Okay. Yeah,
so
it's
it's
funny
very
though. It's one of the biggest issues that I think people have with biology, the biology side of stuff, is that there is so much back sort of language you have to learn before.
vocabulary.
That's the word. Vocabulary you need before you can even get into the fun stuff. So that often puts a lot of people off as well.
Yeah,
Good
but
for you though.
it
So you
was
kept
good, it
going.
was a lot of fun. It was interesting. I saw many aspects of learning environments, because when we'd get home from school, from Mexican school, we still had to do our American homework. So I would go to the kitchen table and sit there and teach myself
Mm,
everything, which I
mm,
think was what prepared me for college, right? We have
right.
to just sit down and you just got to do the work. And so that was another thing that was really helpful to me.
And what was the drive? Was that like a self-drive thing, or was that parents? Was that, I
Oh,
mean,
it was
combination?
it was definitely, I credit my parents.
Oh, yeah, they were,
They
so they
were
were
they
just
were
like,
constantly like, "Do your
wow.
homework, do your homework, do your homework."
Yeah, I tried that too. It doesn't work for me. So, and how many brothers sisters do you have? Any you?
I have an older sister and a younger sister and a younger brother who I
Right.
think I might be watching, but, Ariana is my older sister, my little
Oh,
sister is Amanda, and my little brother is Ruben.
wow.
So,
And so
yeah.
they were all doing the same thing. They're all going back and forth.
They did. My older sister and I did more of it. We're kind of separated by a span of 7 to 10 years between
Oh,
the
wow.
older 2 and the younger 2,
Right.
and so when we were older, we went for longer.
Right.
Once my little brother and sister got older, we started going for less time,
Right.
but it was so I don't think they got to go to school in Mexico all that
Mm,
much once
right.
they got older.
And did you? I mean, do you remember it fondly? Do you remember it? I mean, it sounds like a lot
Oh,
of work.
Mexico was, like, the best times because we all lived in this small town. It was just a ranch, and all my grandparents were there, my aunts and uncles were all there, and it was almost like you just grabbed the town in the United States and then, like, relocated it to, like, a
Huh,
sunny place in
right.
Mexico.
Right.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
it was everyone from the states that I knew was in Mexico, and, we didn't have phones, we didn't have televisions, we didn't have sometimes we didn't have electricity.
Right.
And so it was a very you just walked everywhere and you talked to everyone, and it was absolutely amazing growing up, and Christmases were insane. Like,
And you were in
Mexican
Mexico for that.
Christmases were huge,
Real.
yes. Yeah. So
Excuse me.
we would always go to my grandmother's house, and it was like the whole town would show up for all the different activities, so and
Wow.
piñatas and candy bags. It was awesome.
So going out to the States and to Washington was all work then, basically. That was the
It was work, and then as I got older, it was not just school, but it was actual work. I
yeah.
started working in the fields. My first field was a bean field, I remember at the age of 13.
Mm,
I was 13, we would wake up at 4, we needed to be out in the fields by 5 because that's sunrise, and then we'd work until about 3, and then 3 or 4, come home, and I just remember, like, just wanting
try
to
to do
jump in a
homework.
pool, like, it's
Yeah.
so hot. But yeah, so I worked in the fields at the age of 13, 14, and 15. Beans, sugar beets, and potatoes.
What do they like? I know this is maybe a silly question, but what do they like to pick? Like, are they difficult? Are they, what's
I'm
the,
not picking them, I was cleaning them. So you
oh,
I was just walking down the rows with a hoe and, like, just cleaning the just everything, the weeds and stuff that's around it, 'cause, um,
oh,
yeah, if the you don't get rid of the weeds, the plants don't grow as
yeah, 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 yeah. Wow. Okay. So, geez, so that is backbreaking work then. You're like,
yeah,
and you're
that's
13
why they
years
make the
old.
kids do it.
That's it. There
Um,
you go. Isn't that what
yeah,
kids are for? Yeah, exactly. That's like, yeah.
so
But you talk about I don't know, is it called a condition or something where you explained this to me and I've just been haunted by it ever since, of this kind of, this almost not nausea feeling of when you see the dawn. There's like a,
yes. I say this to people and they're confused. If I see the sunrise, I physically get sick
yeah,
because it makes me think that I have to go work in the
wow.
field.
Well, or you're a
And it
vampire. One of the
oh,
two. Yeah.
I don't know which one I'd prefer, but
Yeah,
yeah,
seriously.
it just to this day I can't watch the sunrise.
That was extraordinary because that spoke so much to me about just how difficult it was. I mean, that you have that kind of a physical response to it is just, yeah.
Yeah.
And the whole time you're sitting there trying to rake the beans up, you're looking up, going, "Oh man, that's the place to be." Like,
Oh
is that it?
it wasn't dark, but yeah, it was my dad did a really good job of taking us out back whenever the different meteor showers would
Right,
happen. So
right.
because back in the day, I think there just wasn't as much light pollution. We lived in a really small town. You could see everything
Yeah,
from our
yeah,
backyard.
yeah. Well,
And
we were in
so
Washington for a while, and it was beautiful.
yeah, and you could just see everything. You could see the Milky Way. And so it was amazing to go back there and just watch shooting stars. And I was lucky I grew up in a town that was, small enough there's
Mm,
about 2,000 people. It was small enough that, maybe it was just naivety that
Mm,
that made them not tell me I couldn't do something.
mm.
So, like, when I was 5, I told my mom I was gonna be an astronaut,
You're
and,
like, "Sure."
she did the normal, "Okay, sweetie, that's nice. You
Yeah,
go be an astronaut,"
yeah, yeah.
and as I was growing up, no one told me no. I don't think
Mm,
anyone knew to tell me no, and so I just grew up trying to do the next thing, do math, do science. When I was in middle school, I won the same summer I started working in the fields at 13. I won an essay contest from the Migrant Education Foundation to go to space camp in Alabama.
oh,
And
sweet.
so I went to space camp, and if those of you who are, older, our age, that remember on Nickelodeon,
You can't put
kids
yourself in
could
my age.
kids
I've got
would
way
win,
ahead. Yeah,
but do you remember when kids
I
would
do.
win
Yeah,
a trip to space camp on a
yeah,
Nickelodeon, like,
yeah,
game show?
yeah.
That was the dream, and so when I won my trip, I was just over the moon. I was so excited. It was one of the first times it was the first time I can remember getting on an airplane and
You
going
go
to
by yourself?
Alabama. It was 3 of us students, and they sent us with a chaperone.
Right. Okay.
But it was a lot of fun. I got to spend an entire week, training to be an astronaut. I did 2 shuttle simulation missions where we got so, the first one was I was a mission specialist, and I was supposed to put this structure satellite thing together in the
Mm,
high bay. So we get our suits on, we're wearing, cooling ice packs under our astronaut EVA suits, and we're out
mm,
there and we're in the 60F chair, so we're floating around and flying and trying to put this thing together, and it got stuck. I don't
mm.
know how I did it, but I managed to jam the satellite into another piece of structure. And so I'm thinking,
I'm
they're
fired.
calling maintenance. Like, maintenance comes, and they're trying to get it unstuck, and so finally, we get it unstuck, we finish, we go back into the space shuttle through the little high bay entrance, um, and we go inside, and it the other campers that we're with are just kind of just chatting to each other, and I thought, "What are you guys doing?" They're like, "Oh, we already landed. You guys are dead. Sorry."
You
So
killed everybody.
oh, so that was probably one of the most fun experiences of my life, is just being able to meet all these new people
Oh,
and
do you keep in
pretend to be
touch
an
with any of them? You
astronaut.
still talk to any of them?
I do
Yeah.
talk to some of them. I
'Cause you're
think
13. I mean, wow.
yeah, I still wish a lot of them happy birthday on their birthdays,
Oh.
just like a once a year text.
Hmm.
I did get to visit a few of them afterwards.
Are they
They are
working in different places? Are they still in the field, some of them, or
Oh, no, we've got lawyers, teachers, engineers, yeah, they kind of spread out. There was a lot of us, so
how many people were in the class? How many people roughly were you?
oh gosh, I was week 29, 1997, week
So
39.
they'd already done 28 weeks of this stuff?
Oh, yeah, and so we were a class of my group was probably 15 to 20 kids, and then the whole class was maybe 5 or 600,
Wow. Wow, that's
campers that
amazing.
year.
What a great experience. And are they still doing that? Are they still doing the space camp
Yeah,
stuff?
I think yeah,
Yeah.
Space Camp is still there.
Oh,
They
that
had
just
Space
seems
Camp Aviation Challenge used to be next door. I don't know if they
mm.
still do that one, but, um, yeah, that was a lot of fun.
Darth asked if any actors were involved.
Oh, good
They
no,
don't
but
train us.
they were filming we were not allowed to eat in our own cafeteria there at Space Camp because they were filming a BMW commercial under the huge space shuttle that's there on site at the US Space and Rocket Center, and so we would have to go to Aviation Challenge to go eat lunch every day, and we would come
Because
back, and you would just see this
BMW.
just field of beamers just
Wow.
under the space shuttle, so that was kind of fun to watch.
I mean, that's got to be quite a change from from raking up beans in Washington State.
It was, and I think that's what really motivated me. That was the thing that kind of was the fire that lit the flame that was just, "This is what you could do. This
Mm,
is what is possible in life. You just gotta work hard." And so
mm,
I think from then on, I was very gung ho. I was like, "This is what I'm gonna do. This is where I'm gonna go, and, no one's gonna stop me."
mm,
And so, but I'm not an astronaut
mm.
yet. I tell people, uh I have not reached the mountaintop, but I have a really good view from where I'm standing.
Ha. So you and is that and the astronaut stuff? Did you get waylaid by interest in other things, or was it
Oh,
you know?
here, I brought this as show and tell. This is my rejection letter.
Oh, nice.
It's framed here at home. It hangs
Yeah,
on the wall. I've got 3 of them,
yeah.
and so it's just a reminder that I'm not done. Just every 4 years, just keep applying. So
And you continue to this day.
I've stopped. I'm older. I don't want to say how old
I
I
don't
am.
know what you're
I've
talking about, Marlene. I'm older.
I don't think they've ever chosen an astronaut my age, to start the astronaut candidate program. So,
But the funny thing is, at some point, they're going to have to see what happens to people over the age of whatever in
well, they
space and
did.
stuff. So yeah,
John Glenn flew when he was
yeah,
77.
yeah.
They've got quite a few people flying up there.
And it seems like more and more these days, there's more of a chance of actually getting up there. But the astro, but you're okay. But so you may not be an astronaut, but you're basically doing all the same stuff from Earth. Like you're making all this
We
stuff happen.
do. Yeah, so for a lot of years, I worked the Orion program. So the
Mm,
Orion program is part of the Artemis big program. It's our generation's Apollo,
mm,
and I was in the test bed for Orion. And so we had the huge mock-up, the simulator of the Orion spacecraft where we run all of our tests
mm,
before they actually run on the real vehicle that's down in Florida.
mm,
And this one's here in Denver. And so we have the display units, we have the seats, we have everything, all the switches, all the knobs. And so it's so much fun because the astronauts will come in
mm,
and they'll use it. And what people find funny is when they come in, I say, please let me know when the astronauts will be here so I can not be here. And they're like,
really,
what? I said, never meet your heroes.
really. Oh,
Yeah,
that's interesting.
you don't count, David.
Okay, good, good, good. I was an anti-hero. Yeah.
I and it's funny because I did meet I've purposefully walked up to 2.
Mm,
It was Ellen Ochoa, the first
mm,
Hispanic female astronaut,
yeah,
and Jose Hernandez,
yeah.
who was at JPL. And so I walk up to them, I say hello, I introduce myself, I tell them that I admire their work, that they're such, a great motivation, and I hope they're having a great day, and then I walk away.
That's it.
Like, I do not let them speak.
Yeah. That's
I'm
so
just so
interesting.
nervous. I just, like, go up to them, say hi, and then leave.
It's an interesting point though, because I've definitely, as I've got older, I'm less and less interested in hearing what, like, for example, actors or directors have to say about stuff apart from their work, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? Like, I don't like behind the scenes stuff so much anymore because I sort of don't want to know what if someone so was a jerk or if they were, you know. So it just I want to just enjoy the I want to enjoy the I don't want to enjoy the process. I want to see the finished product when it comes to that stuff. And
Yeah.
I used to eat up any behind the scenes stuff there was, all the books and autobiographies and stuff. Yeah. It's interesting, isn't it? Well, astronauts are also, they seem like a different, well, we had a chat with, I've talked to a couple people about this in the past about how the changing face of astronauts over time, how originally they were these sort of like, uh, uh, toxic male
The
test
test pilots, they
test
were the
pilots.
test
Yeah,
pilots.
exactly. They were crazy already.
Mhm.
And then they tried the science thing, but pure science doesn't tend to get along with anyone else very well. And then so it was trying to find that magical mix of things that are necessary. It's a fascinating process, like
Yeah,
absolutely
it
amazing.
had the faces have changed over time. I think they're starting to get, much more well-rounded,
Mm, mm.
which is really nice
Well,
to
and I
see.
guess as the missions last longer too, it's getting along is almost becomes much more important than just how good you are at whatever, you know.
Yeah, I like watching the Mars simulations where they put people into a pod for, like, 2 years or, like, a
Oh
year
wow.
and then see how they do. I think one of them's called, like, High Seas or something where they put a bunch of people in a Mars simulation in Hawaii, and
Wow.
they're only allowed to leave the building in their Mars, like, EVA suits,
Wow.
and they have to live together for a year, and it's a big study.
That's kind of cool. We had a wonderful guy on a little while back whose specialty is the psychology of these extreme spaces. Like, how do you design spaces that make it better, that make it work for humans, and
Yeah.
not just for the missions, if that makes sense.
I really liked the way that the folks on The Martian did it, where
Mm,
they had the gravity spinner that kinda made
mm,
you feel like you were walking. I was like, "That's what we would need
yeah.
when we're going to Mars, so we have a little gravity." I
Well,
think it would really help our eyes too. They said the astronauts when they come back from space have vision issues because the fluid in your brain is just constantly pushing on the back of your
oh
eyeballs.
God, every time I see them in space, I feel uncomfortable because it just looks like they're all about to have a heart attack. It's got that weird puffiness that happens with being in space. I don't know. I think you're much better where you are. I don't think you want to go there. You know,
Thank you.
do you have any sense of why you wouldn't make a good astronaut? Is there anything that you go like, you know what I need? I need whatever.
I'm
Some
too
better.
short. I'm 5 foot nothing. So, I
Yeah,
think that's probably one of the biggest things. Which you would think
I thought
would
that
be
would
a
be an
benefit.
advantage. Yes.
Yeah, you would think is a benefit. From what I was told when I was in middle school, my uncle was in the military.
Hmm,
He said that the reason is because to be astronauts, you have to be able to fly the jets.
hmm,
And the jets require a minimum height because your feet need to be low enough so that when you pull the ejection handle, there's a bar that pulls your feet back so they don't
hmm,
break on the dash. And so
hmm.
if you're not tall enough for this bar to pull your feet back and launch you into the air, you can't fly the jet. And so that's what I was told. But honestly, these days I'm like, well, what if someone else just flies the jet?
Yeah, yeah. I don't need to fly the jet.
I'll
That's
take
fine.
I'll
Yeah,
take a
yeah.
I'll take a commercial flight to Florida. Don't worry about me.
I feel for
Um,
every one of those, there's probably a counter where you go like, yeah, you're tall, so you get hit in the head a lot. I mean, like I don't know
yeah,
what
there is a max. There's a minimum and a maximum.
Mm.
But having worked on the Orion program for so many years, I remember telling people like I use less oxygen, I eat less food, I require so much less space. Like I feel like I would be perfect.
Yeah,
And if something goes wrong, I help build Orion. I could fix it.
yeah.
No problem.
I can wedge
So
stuff into things that people have never tried to wedge things into before.
I
Apparently,
did that once. I
according to
did that
space
on one
camp.
of my first programs when I first joined. I joined Lockheed in 2006, and I was very small, and so we needed to get into a spacecraft
Mm,
to I remember I was trying to get in there. I was trying to hold a mirror so we could see the reaction wheel spinning.
mm,
And they said, "Marlene, can you get in there?" I was like, "Well, I could try." And so sure enough, I'm like shimmying my way into the spacecraft trying to fit in there. That was a lot of fun. So
Is there any sense of claustrophobia and stuff with this? Because it always feels a bit.
I do not have claustrophobia. I have a fear of heights, but I'm fine flying. So I think I'd be fine in a small capsule.
Flying and heights are different. I know that sounds
Yeah.
silly, but it really is. There's something very, very different about being high up and being in a
Well, I did jump
vehicle.
out of a couple planes,
Oh,
but
okay.
I feel like that was before I had my fear of heights.
And
So
yeah, my wife keeps talking about possibly leaping out of a plane, but I just I think I'd be like, like when they try to bathe a cat and its legs go out and I think that would be me trying to get me out of the plane in
that
any.
happened to
Yeah,
me.
yeah.
I went once
Mm,
and I really talked myself into it. I was like,
mm,
"You're gonna do this. It's gonna be great." I went with friends. I went with my friend Fatima and Linda,
mm,
and I was like, "This is gonna be great." And they're like, the girls are behind me. They're like, "You're gonna do this. It's gonna be great." So I did it, and then my cousins wanted to go, and so
yeah.
I was like, I spent the whole time convincing them they were gonna be fine until I get to the door and I'm looking down and I'm thinking, "Why did I
This
do
is a
this
perfectly good
again?"
plane. Yeah,
I know, and so by then it was too late. They just kind of pull your head back because I would jump tandem, so they just kind of pull your head back and
and
throw
out
you
you
out into
go.
the air.
Wow.
So
There's an absolutely magnificent Will Smith video that I saw, and not a huge fan of him right now. But that said, this video is amazing where he talks about fear, and he talks about how he's out with his buddies and they talk about jumping out of a plane. And they've had a couple of drinks. He's like, yeah, let's do this, and then he goes to bed that night and goes like, what the hell? There's no way I'm jumping out of a plane. And then their friends follow up on it, and he's like, I don't know, I'm not sure. And this fear that builds and builds and builds. You're trying to get out of it, then you realize you can't get out of it, so then you got to get on the plane, and getting on the plane is one issue. Getting all the equipment on, everything, this building fear, and then you're standing in the doorway of the plane, and you're terrified.
yeah,
And then the part that should be the scariest part when you're out of the plane is when you lose all fear
it's
because you're
very
doing it.
freeing.
Yeah. And it's not, and I just love it. He applied it to sort of life in general in one of these kind of like self help ways. But I just thought it's so true. The number of times I've like just been almost the more scared of something to do something that you are, the better the experience at the end. And I have to sort of remind myself every so often, because I don't just play a coward on television, Marleen. I'm also quite good at it in real life. So, it's just that extra step is so sort of worth it. That's amazing. I had no idea you wanted to be an astronaut. I just assumed, it was just all about the
It,
the science
yeah,
techie stuff.
everything's just been the build up to that.
That is wild.
So
That's
yeah,
great. Oh, we got to keep trying.
wanted to buy
Yeah.
me a ticket.
Yeah. Well, there's that too. Although that doesn't feel. How do you feel about space tourism? What's your take
I
on the space tourism thing?
My say is Alan Shepard.
Mm,
They gave him astronaut wings, and he did not orbit the Earth.
mm, mm,
Glenn was the first to orbit.
right.
So I feel like if Alan Shepard got his astronaut wings, everyone else should too.
Should get them too. Okay, yeah, fair enough. Okay, fair enough. That's good. Fair enough.
That's my personal opinion.
Yes, it is. All of this is just your personal opinion. I agree. Yes, absolutely. Okay, so you've gone to space camp. You've got the bug, obviously, at this
Yeah.
point. This is what you're doing. How does one do that? How does one, how do you
It
make that
helps
happen?
to have a college degree.
Right.
So I went to the University of Washington in
Yeah.
Seattle. I got a space grant scholarship. I got a Costco scholarship. I
A
applied for
Costco scholarship?
every
That's
I
great.
applied for every single scholarship I could possibly find.
Very good.
Yeah, the people over at Costco were kind enough to give me a full ride.
Really?
So yeah, I'm a Costco scholar.
How does that happen? Like, how does that's just an application process, or you
So
go meet them, or what?
I so what had happened was, this is a crazy story too. So I applied for the NASA Space Grant Scholarship.
Mm.
My heart was set on going to Gonzaga University. That's where my sister had gone. That's where my uncle had gone. I was like, I'm going to be a
And
Zag.
where's that? Where's that? That's
Spokane, Washington,
Spokane, Washington. Oh,
big
very good.
city,
Okay. Yeah,
the
yeah.
big city.
The big smoke.
That was the big city.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And so I applied for the Space Grant Scholarship, and um, I had not applied to the University of Washington. So when I got a call that said, "Hey, we want you to come in for an interview," I thought, "Great. Do you have to go to the University of Washington?" And they said, "Yes." And I said, "I didn't apply to the University of Washington. I, had my heart set on Gonzaga." And so I went to my high school counselor, my guidance counselor, and I said, "I don't know what to do. I didn't apply. They
Mhm.
said I can come in for an interview, but what's the point if I can't even go to school there?" And so my guidance counselor, Miss Grady Andrews, she called admission counselors at the University of Washington until she could find one who's willing to take a late application. So they said, "You have to hand deliver it to this woman, and her name is Renee, and do not miss this. When you come in for the interview, you have to hand deliver it." I thought, okay, I'm going to be there
2 days
on
early.
March 1st. It's going to be great.
Yeah.
And then February 28th or March 20th, I remember it was the end of a month and the beginning of a month. Seattle gets this huge earthquake,
Mm.
like 5.7. It's buildings are shut down. So I show up the next day and nothing's open. And so I can't hand deliver this application. And so I go into my space grant interview and I explain what's going on, how I can't get into the admissions office building. And so they were so kind, they delivered it for me. They said,
Wow.
"We will hand deliver your application with a shining recommendation."
They've
I
got
was
to
like, "Great."
know. They've got to know they've got a good thing. Like they've
Yeah.
got to. I mean, yeah.
I think I had impressed upon them how much I wanted to be there. And
Mm,
so
mm,
they turned it in for me. So a couple months later, I get 3 envelopes in the mail. I get my admission to the University of Washington.
mm.
I get the NASA Space Grant Scholarship. And then I get this third envelope that says something about Costco scholarship. And I thought, this is amazing. It looks like a lot of money. I want to apply for it. So
Mhm,
then I call the financial aid office back at the University of Washington. I'm
mm,
like, how do I apply for this? I really, really want this money.
mm.
And they said, "Oh, no, you already got it. Your application to the University of Washington was your application to that scholarship.
Oh,
We're
wow.
giving you a full ride." And I was
Oh,
like,
good for them.
my mother and father were over the moon.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah,
I gotta say,
we don't
Pat
have to
goes to
pay
school
for my
in
college.
September.
Yeah,
No
so,
free rides for him. Not, full
yeah,
rides, not
so
free rides, full
I
rides.
I took full advantage. I studied. It was so hard, but
Mm,
I studied my little heart out and got a degree in aeronautics and astronautics, which is from the
wow.
School of Engineering. So it's some places call it aerospace engineering.
Mm,
That's pretty much what it is. And so I specialized in astronautical engineering and
mm,
rocket propulsion.
Wow.
which I've never really worked rocket propulsion again after that, but, um, I still know how to do it, which is
Right.
nice.
It's always nice to have that, in your back pocket as a,
I am a rocket scientist, and I can say that, which is fun.
yeah, that's
So
good. So, and it's always looks good on the resume too, doesn't
oh,
it?
yes.
So that was so the rocket science part of it was just something that you felt you needed to take, or that was a passion to unto itself, or
I think that was just the only path I saw forward. I thought, "This is what I wanna do, space is what I wanna do." There's a degree that
mm,
tells you you can do this.
right,
I do know a lot of, like, mechanical engineers and electrical engineers and computer engineers that I work with, but I was just dead set on aerospace, like, that
right.
that was what I wanted to do. And so it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, how was
College
the university experience? Was what's
I lived in, like, every single possible housing arrangement
mm,
you could think of. I
that
lived in
sounds
the
like
dorms
hell.
my first year,
Yeah.
and then I lived in a sorority my sophomore year,
Oh wow.
and then I lived in an apartment, and then I lived in a church.
Oh really?
Yeah. Yeah, yep. If you became a peer minister at the University of Washington, you got, free housing, and
Oh
so
wow. So you're like,
that
sign me
kind
up.
of set me
Oh
up.
yeah, yeah. Wow.
Yep.
So
So
you're good at the wheeling and dealing as well.
yeah, I had a lot of very different experiences in college, which was kinda
Right.
nice, but
Yeah, that's wild. I can't imagine being in your final years in a church. That just seems like,
it
supposed to be
was
getting in trouble at that
interesting.
point. Right?
It was I met a lot of fun people, which is
I'm
good.
sure. Yeah.
Yeah, don't tell them about me sneaking in the back door after I went out to the bar.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. Oh, that's amazing. So great university experience.
Mhm.
And you managed to get scholarships for the entire thing. Wow.
Yeah, yeah, so I graduated pretty much debt free,
Oh, because that
and
unto itself is extraordinary. I couldn't get over how much
nice.
these kids owe by the time they get out,
Yeah.
or their kids' parents owe, depending on how it goes. But yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
so with that experience, I actually started my own scholarship because I thought, "Wow, this is expensive." So for many years, I ran a scholarship program in my hometown. It wasn't a lot of money, I'm
okay.
not Costco,
Yeah.
but, I did definitely try to help out some of the students with some financial aid so they can go to college, and then now
Oh,
I've actually transferred it to more of just, I now just donate the funds to the science department and math departments in the
right.
school
Right.
to help them with getting just a bunch of different stuff they need for the kids, which is nice.
And I mean, when you went to university, did you feel like you were fitting in? Did you find other people like you? I mean, what was it like? Or
It
I
was
can't imagine there's a lot of people with stories like yours
so
going
it was
into
actually it's interesting, something that played into a big part of that, and I've talked to you about this in the past.
mm,
I have Tourette syndrome,
mm.
and so
This was
when I
news.
was
This
a
was
kid
news to me as well.
when I was a kid, it was really bad,
Mm,
and so my face would be twitching, my
mm.
hands were just getting I would rub them together, I used to clear my throat. When I was a
Wow.
freshman, I would repeat what I was saying. I had, palilalia, which is the echoing of my own words.
Oh wow.
Echolalia is the echoing of other people's words, and then coprolalia is the uttering of inappropriate words.
Oh right.
And
Okay.
so
Which
I
is the
had
classic Tourette's from
that's
movies and
that's
stuff.
what
Yeah.
people
Yeah.
like to that's what people think is Tourette
Yeah.
syndrome.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so when I got older, I learned to really suppress them really well, and so I when I went to college, it was like I was no one knew me, no one knew the 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 twitching part of my life, and so it was kinda nice and refreshing to just start
Mm,
over. I got
mm.
to go into college and just be the person I wanted to be, not the person that,
That's acting.
your
That's
high
it.
school friends knew,
Yeah.
and I got to meet so many different people because I told you I grew up in a very predominantly Hispanic town, so it was like
Mm,
75% Hispanic and 25% everything else,
mm.
and so when I went to Seattle, it was the first time I tried sushi. It was the first time I tried Thai food. It was the first time I had friends from all walks of life in all
Right.
parts of the world, and it was
Right.
absolutely amazing. I loved it.
Yeah.
Um, so
That
yeah, it really opened my eyes.
and that diversity of thought and perspective is just amazing. That's the thing that I love about the university side of stuff. I wish I'd gone just because I just feel like there's so many
Yeah,
different angles on things you would learn
it
from.
it JPL reminded me of that.
Mm,
just being surrounded by people who were studying, who were trying to increase the knowledge base, who
mm,
were just experimenting with science, and it just that's what it felt like at JPL, which I
mm,
really liked. It felt like you were in a place of learning and knowledge and experimentation of science.
mm.
So
How long were you at
yeah.
JPL for?
Well, so in college, I interned at JPL 2 summers.
Right.
So my first summer, I was a propulsion lead on a student-led architecture group where we were designing a Mars mission.
Oh,
So
wow.
we were supposed to design a Mars mission that would the science behind it would get everything that we humans needed to know about Mars before we sent humans to Mars. So
Right.
it's called
Right.
Safe on Mars. And then my second year, um, I I kinda just was willing to take anything at that point, and I
Mm.
applied for one position that hired me as, Matt Golombek's intern, and Matt Golombek is a geologist, and
Huh.
so I was on the geology team my
Oh,
second
wow.
summer at JPL, and so I counted rocks all summer from Mars Global Surveyor images. We were trying to find the best landing site for Phoenix. Phoenix
Right.
was a Mars lander that landed, I think, back in 2008, and we're trying to figure out where to land it in the poles. So we interns, there was 4 of us, we basically just went in and counted
Oh my
rocks for an
god.
entire
Now,
summer.
were you then a little more picky about what you said yes to after that?
was it was just absolutely crazy, and I when I tell people that, I remember because I counted rocks all summer. I had a friend who watched glue dry there at JPL all summer with
I
different,
guess
like,
someone's gotta do it,
epoxies,
right? To make sure
so
it's, you know, it
yeah, they're
wow.
trying to find the right epoxy for some I can't remember what it was, but yeah, so I was like, "I
It's one
counted
of the
rocks, she watched glue dry."
it's one of the things I worry about with AI is that while it's great that AI can do a lot of these things, it means that there's 2 summer jobs of people getting to know people in the system that won't happen.
Yeah, yeah, I struggle sometimes with AI. I don't use it too much,
Mm.
but
Are you allowed
I'm
is it something that's allowed at Lockheed Martin and stuff? I mean, is
yeah,
there a
we have our own AI
yeah, okay.
system that we can use for work stuff.
Right.
But it's mostly me. I honestly use it more for when I'm doing the end of year reviews of all my coworkers. I
Yeah,
like write what I want to write and I
yeah.
stick it into AI. I make
Make
it
it
fix it.
yeah,
Get
fix it. Yeah, yeah,
better.
yeah. It's good for that.
And
Yeah,
then that's what I use it
yeah.
for.
It's
Uh,
I use it all the time for coding. I do a lot of just Python programming, and I've been doing a Google Analytics course, so I've been using it to help with the Python side of that. Because it's as coding help, it's invaluable. It's amazing, absolutely amazing.
Yeah, I tried we have an AI coding system
Mm,
at Lockheed, and I tried to use it for some different stuff, but we have so many languages that we
mm.
use for different systems that, you kind of have to know the system you're using
Yeah,
and
I think it helps.
make
Like,
it
I
fit.
definitely the Python side of stuff is something that I've learned. I had to learn because there wasn't AI to start. So I think I could probably fix some stuff that maybe you couldn't if you didn't know. But it's getting pretty close. What languages do you use? What do you got over
Uh,
there?
Most of them are proprietary.
Oh,
They're,
really?
we use an L3 Harris language for Orion. We use Um, actually, I think one's common, Tickle, TCL. I'm
Oh,
not
wow.
sure. We use that scripting. I do scripting. I don't do a lot of coding. So
Mm,
scripting is basically when you're writing a sequence for a spacecraft.
mm.
You say, send this command, check this telemetry. Send this command, check this telemetry. Send this command until this telemetry reads this.
Right.
And so, so it's basically just a script of stuff that you're
It's a do
sending to
while
the
loop. Is that
spacecraft.
the
Yeah,
yeah,
and
yeah.
so it's not as hard, which is nice. It's
Mm.
much more simple. But when I was in college, I took Java, and that's kind of the
Oh,
basic
that was
thing.
gonna be the thing. That was gonna
That
be
was
the
gonna
big
be
remember
yeah,
that was gonna be everything.
yeah. In
Yeah,
Seattle, I figured they'd teach me the latest coding,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Right there with all
I
those
got
Microsoft kids.
the
So
original developer kit. I downloaded it. It took like I can't remember how long it took me to download it from the site because you had to do it on the diskettes. And I read book after book on that bloody Java, that I never used it.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But so that's a lot of that still is helpful in the scripting that I'm doing. But that's a
Mm.
lot of the test bed work is running so many tests, and it's easier to script everything to kind of make it go more smoothly.
Oh god, yeah. There's nothing worse than waiting for something to finish before you can type in the next thing. Yeah, the automation side of stuff is absolutely fascinating. That's
Yep.
Oh, that's great. Okay, so we just talked about JPL. Did you get your job at JPL by doing the internship stuff, I suppose?
No, so I interned at JPL, and that year, the year I was graduating from college was another reduction in force year, and so I applied to a few companies, and I got a few job offers, but I ended up at Lockheed in Sunnyvale because they had offered me the test engineering job that I thought was
Ah,
the most
that's oh
fascinating,
yeah,
and so
yeah,
I
yeah,
went with that job to
right.
California, and my best friend at the time, well, still one of my best friends, she was going to grad school there at
Mm,
Stanford, and so Sasha and I were able to live together and, hang out, and she went
that,
to grad school, I went to work.
yeah,
So
that's great.
so guess who got to pay when we went out?
Oh no, that's right. Of course, you got the gig. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. That was a lot of fun. I really liked those years. And then I started in Sunnyvale at Lockheed facility there, but next to Ames, which is a
Oh
really
right.
cool facility as well. And then I moved to Houston. So when I was started working at Lockheed in July of 2006,
Mm,
Lockheed won the Orion contract in August of 2006. And
huh,
so I thought Orion spacecraft, that's NASA, it's going back to space. That's what, it's the next shuttle. That's what I want to work on. And
right.
so I applied for the Orion jobs for the next year. And I finally got one in Houston. So I moved to Houston and I worked there for a
Wow.
couple years. And
How was
then
Houston? How did you find Houston?
what I tell my mom is it takes a Texan to live in Texas.
Yeah, it is like a different country, isn't it?
It's a very interesting place.
Mm,
I loved parts of it, but
yeah, me too.
I wish they had more trees. I think that was my thing
It's
in the
hot.
city of
Yeah,
Houston. It's hot,
yeah,
a little more shade would be nice. But so then, in 2010, Constellation got canceled,
yeah.
and so then I moved to Denver, and that's when I started working on the GRAIL program,
Mm.
which
Which was
was
great.
our
And what was
moon
great?
satellite. So
Oh,
GRAIL
right,
was 2 moon satellites that we sent to the moon to measure the gravitational field of the moon.
right,
So it was
right.
another JPL program.
Oh,
So I got to work with some folks from JPL again, which was really a lot of fun.
mm.
And then, yeah, and then I started working back on the Orion program. Then I lived in Florida for a year, and then so I
That's a
just,
whole other country too,
yeah, I was
Florida.
just
Yeah.
constantly moving around the country.
And did you
And
enjoy that? I mean, did you enjoyed bouncing around like that? Is that?
I think I did. I
Mm,
was like I said, I didn't really have anything holding, like no roots anywhere, and
mm,
so I was able
mm,
to kind of go wherever I was needed, wherever I wanted to work
mm,
on the next best thing. So I did. I got to work a lot of launch campaigns, which was a lot of fun. I've
yeah,
seen so many launches. My favorite still, well, I have a few favorites because some were mine and some were just cool looking. So
yeah.
I really like how when the Falcon 9, the SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket launches, there's a certain part during the launch phase where the boost, the the plume coming out of the nozzle looks
Mm.
like an upside down tulip. And
Ha!
so I think it looks so pretty,
Oh,
and that's one
wow.
of my favorites. And then I watched the Delta IV launch of the EFT-1. So if you watch The Martian, the
Yeah,
launch at the end of The Martian, the very last scene where, Martinez is going up with the new crew,
yeah.
that launch, that's EFT-1. That's our Orion
Oh,
launch.
wow, they just used footage
And I
from
didn't
that.
even know it. I'm sitting in the theater and they showed the EFT-1 launch. I was like, "Oh my goodness, this is absolutely amazing." That's us.
Yeah.
So what was interesting about the Delta IV Heavy is if you don't know what's gonna happen, it can be really scary because the first thing that happens is the entire rocket is engulfed in flames, and then the rocket rises out of the flames.
Oh,
And
wow.
so I had to prepare myself. So I watched YouTube videos of Delta IV Heavy launches so that when
Mm.
it happened, I didn't like,
Freak out.
freak
Yeah, yeah,
out.
yeah.
So, but yeah.
Wow.
And then
Well, and
this,
that's just the different designs in the propulsion systems.
yeah, I think it's, I don't know if it's what the coding or because they're constantly releasing, they're outgassing. And so I
Mm.
think it's all that outgassing. At least I think that's what it is.
It's
That
I
goes up
guess
in flames.
it's fascinating to me the idea that they would have such. I would have just assumed that it was like, well, we've got the rocket sorted out now. We just use. I mean, I understand little tweaks, but you're saying that these things all just have completely different systems and different like signatures as they go up.
Yeah, I've seen so many things. My favorite so far is the SLS launch. That was amazing to watch because that thing lit up the sky. When you watch night launches, the video of them doesn't do it justice. You're
Yeah.
standing there, and all of a sudden, it's daytime.
Wow.
The sky is blue and the clouds are white
Wow.
as it's going, and you're just in absolute awe. That's some of my favorite. I do remember I watched the very last ever shuttle launch
Mm,
from the VAB there in Florida,
mm,
and that one, my greatest memory of that one is feeling the reverberation in my chest
mm,
as the shuttle is rising.
mm.
Oh, that was awesome.
Shuttle was magnificent. We watched that was sort of my childhood was the shuttle, and and we as a class we watched Challenger and everything. It was just we went through the whole thing, and then when they I guess when they were moving it to the museum, we tracked it through L.A. We would go and visit it at different.
Nice.
Yeah, it was fantastic. Yeah, up at 11 o'clock at night in the middle of somewhere in LA, watching this thing try to make a corner. And it was just, they had to take down light posts and
Yeah, that thing is
signs. Oh,
huge.
it's,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't think you get a sense of the scale until you see it next to
A car.
fat, or a fat burger or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's like,
yeah.
um, okay. So you bounced around for a while and then what obviously I mean it wasn't just family that rooted you down. You
It
found
was
something you
so
wanted to do.
yeah, so then in 2015, earlier, but I got married, and then I
Right.
had my kid in later of 2016, and it was just one of those things where, all right, kids are a lot of fun work, and
Yeah, it's
so
amazing, isn't it?
and so
I
it
called my dad and thanked him. Like I was about 2 months into my son being around. I called my dad and went, God, man, thank you. I guess I didn't realize that was so much work.
Yeah, so I decided I needed to stop traveling so much and for work, and so that's when I went into the test beds. But that was the year. It was actually on my husband and I's honeymoon that we decided to go to JPL,
Oh
and
wow.
so we
Because
he
your partner's in this business as well.
yeah, so Mitch is also an engineer.
Yeah.
He's a parts engineer, which is an interesting field. He deals with all the components
Oh
and all the parts
wow.
that go into the spacecraft, make sure they're
Oh, that's kind of cool
um,
too. Yeah.
make sure they're safe for space travel, that they're radiation hardened for Jupiter, and just all this crazy requirements that they have. Um,
Wow.
so yeah, so we decided on our honeymoon we are gonna move to California and go work at JPL,
Yeah.
which we did. We both did. It was awesome,
And that was
and
just like that just seemed like the place to be. That was like
that
I
was
mean,
where I
Pasadena's
wanted
lovely too.
to yeah, I wanted to kind of get more into the the planning side of a lot of these missions, and I kind of wanted to live in California.
Yeah. Well,
Um,
look, I think everyone should
so
live in California for at least some time because it really is an extraordinary
yeah.
place. I mean, it's just
So we were there for 5 years, and then in 2020, we all know what happened, and so we thought, "Okay, I think now it's time to go back to Colorado." So we moved
yeah,
back to Colorado, so we didn't have to, uh what was the word? Isolate. We didn't have to isolate in a small condo in LA, so
yeah, yeah. I
yeah.
can't. That's the yeah. That I mean, it definitely changed. It changed things for a lot of
Yeah,
people. They're living changed the living arrangements for a lot of people. I think.
yeah.
Um,
We
you
all
know,
know that.
yeah,
Everyone
exactly.
watching that.
So during the lockdown and stuff, I don't know how much of that was in effect there. I know Toronto's pretty locked down, but did you continued your work? You'd work from home or you'd work in
I
isolation? How
worked
does it
from
work?
home. I was back at Lockheed
Mm,
when we started back up again here in Colorado, and so, yeah, I worked from here. This is my desk. This is where
right.
I would work every day. We made it look,
I
we
Well,
we
I was
tried to
admiring those
decorate.
yesterday. Those you
Yeah.
should tell people where you got that because those posters are beautiful.
These are so JPL did calendars, and so the backs of these are the months of a
Mm,
regular calendar, and they made them this size so we could actually cut up the calendar images and frame them. And it's a tourism
yeah,
style calendar
it's
for
so
the
smart.
solar system.
Yeah,
So it's like Enceladus and Jupiter and Europa and Kepler, and this one says visit the historic sites of Mars.
right, right.
So just a lot of fun stuff that we got to do while we were there and enjoy. So
So okay, so you work there, and now what now? What's up now? What's
Now,
the
oh
plan?
gosh,
What
so
do you
I
think?
came back to Lockheed and I worked a few programs. I worked Orion again for I actually worked the SLS launch, the Artemis 1 launch there in
Right,
Florida, which is why I saw it because I was in charge of making sure that all of the data was getting down from the vehicle down to all of our engineers all over the country, making sure
right.
that their data stream never got cut. And
How do you
so
do that? Like, sorry, that sounds like a silly question, but
it's
how do you make sure that
I
happens?
don't even know how to describe it because it would take us days to
Yeah.
describe. So we just have all the hardware, all of the electronic systems that so it comes down. It can either go. I think Orion used the Near Earth Network and TDRS and a few other different systems to come down,
Mm,
and then NASA gets it, and then they pipe it to us, bent pipe
mm,
system. So they pipe it to us, and then we have it and we pipe it out to our engineers all over the country. And so I had to make sure that the people in Denver, the people in Florida, the people anywhere who had the Lockheed system, the telemetry systems up, that they could actually get the data because a lot of our support systems were in different parts of the country.
mm.
And so that was mine.
So
And
logistics must have been a
yeah.
nightmare. Did you have any problems? Were there any issues where you had to dive in?
The only issue I had was trying to get to work that morning was just like trying to get onto Kennedy Space Center during a launch is just
Oh, forget
insane.
it. Oh,
Yeah,
really?
so I went a few hours early and I still got stuck in a couple hours of traffic.
Oh, wow.
Um, but
Don't
we
you have like a special pass or something? Like you don't have like a you can't
I
wave
had
a.
my work badge. Well, I'm on the highway. I can't use my badge to pass people on the highway.
I've seen people do.
But
I've seen people do things similar,
yeah, so then
just like as you drive by.
yeah, I
Yeah.
think the one thing that was interesting was we had the VP, Kamala Harris, was coming to visit
Oh yeah.
during the launch. And so we had to go out to the lobby and we had to get scanned again by the Secret Service. And then
Mm,
we would keep going back to work. And I had to go to the restroom. And the women's restroom had been designated as the White House staff bathroom. And there was a Secret Service agent standing in front of it at all times. And so came out. I'm just coming out of the room, and there's a hallway, and I see him in front of the restroom, and I was like, "Can I use the restroom?" And he said, "Can you hold it?" And I said, "No." And so he's like, "All right, come along." So I went, used the restroom, came back, and then another person did the same thing. They opened the door, they're like, "Can we use the restroom?" And the Secret Service guy's like, "No." And so
it's like
he
we're
got
done. I've set a
yeah,
precedent.
he's
If
like,
we're
"No,
lucky.
not right now. Come back in 10 minutes." So
Wow.
that was the only issue that I had, was just because it's such a production,
Yeah.
it's everything, but, it was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed, the Artemis 1 program system launch, everything was
Wow.
absolutely amazing, and everything worked almost perfectly, which is also amazing, so
Is that now? But I feel like, am I wrong? It feels like you guys get it right a lot of the time.
a lot of work goes into that, and so
Yeah.
I remember when we were launching EFT-1, which was the experimental flight test on the Delta IV Heavy,
Hmm.
I had worked the shift before that morning's launch,
Mm.
and so as I was leaving, my coworker and I put little, sticky tags on everyone's computer monitor system, just saying Godspeed, and so I made sure not to write good luck because
Ah, because it's not
I
luck.
we had worked too hard
Yeah.
for luck to play any part in this.
Right. Right.
We had, missed birthdays, missed recitals, missed family dinners. Like we were
Mm,
all in Florida just working grueling 12-hour shifts,
mm,
24/7. So
hmm,
that was what the people who work on these missions work so hard
hmm.
all the time, and it's admirable. I find it fast. I can't do that anymore. I can do onesie twosie. I've decided I don't like to do those crazy 12-hour night shifts anymore. So
Yeah, there was something about yeah. There was I think there was a I I remember that instinct to sort of just want to just keep going. Just I guess got to keep
yeah,
going until I can't go anymore. And the reality is, I think you just get smart enough as you get older that you realize that you function better when
when you have some
you've had a little
rest.
rest. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah,
Um, so okay, so you're making sure that all the data gets to all the right people, um, and but you still get to watch the launch as well. Like one,
So
yeah,
so we ran outside.
right.
And, so, like, a minute and a half before launch, everyone in
Mm,
the well, we were not the main control room. That was the Florida Launch Control Center. They were in
right,
charge of the
right.
actual launch of the rocket. We were watching the Orion systems at this
Mm,
time. So we knew, like, we're safe enough. And so the people in Denver were also on, and they couldn't run outside and watch it. So we're like, okay, Denver's watching all the systems. We're gonna do this. So we
yeah,
all run outside of the ONC building there at Kennedy,
right,
as fast as we can, watch the launch, and then run back inside
right, right.
to make sure everything's still working. But yeah, and I did it. So that one, we had a couple launch attempts, and so that one was morning launch. It was like 1:45 in the morning, Florida
Right.
time or something. And so that was the first time I ever actually slept at work. And so
Did you sleep under the desk,
I
like the
had the
classic
6
sleeping under?
AM to 6 PM shift, and so what I did was one guy somewhere in the building had a blow-up mattress, another
Right.
guy had the pump, and so I remember just, like, going to different people's desks and grabbing whatever I needed, and I slept in a conference room upstairs, and so the photo of me and our chief engineer is funny because he's in, like, his suit and his bow tie, and I'm in my pajamas.
Well, you see who's doing the work. You
Yeah.
know, the people in the
So
pajamas are the ones doing all the work,
yeah,
right? You
yeah,
know,
so I just woke up, watched ran outside with them, the night shift people, and then, came back in the morning to work, so
I love that you can be that enthusiastic though, despite the fact that you've done all this work, you're involved in all this stuff. You still, it's like I still got to get out there and watch it.
yeah, yeah.
You know, like that's a
I'm not leaving.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah,
Um, and a good thing because it's on your list of favorites.
yeah.
Um,
So, you
yeah,
asked what I'm doing now, though, so
yeah, yeah.
I
We're
was just
yeah, we're
I was
right at the
slowly getting there, the
yeah.
Orion program.
I'm very
Um
good at getting us off topic. I'm very good
Yeah.
at that. Yeah.
So then, so right now I'm working 2 programs.
Mm,
I am the Jetson Testbed Lead and the Mavis Testbed Lead. And so Jetson is our nuclear powered spacecraft.
wow.
So what we've been doing at Lockheed is we're trying to get into the nuclear spacecraft side of things. And so
Mm-hmm.
NTP, NET, we're so right now
What are
we're
those? What do those mean?
nuclear thermal propulsion, nuclear energy technology.
Okay.
And so
It sounded
we're
good. If you said that
y
convincingly, I would have completely
yeah,
used
so
the word.
we understand if we're gonna go out into space and we're gonna try to stay out there for long
Yeah.
periods of
You
time, we
can't
need
be.
better energy sources and better
Yeah.
propulsion sources, and so we've been, working on Jetson. Jetson's our nuclear energy
Mm.
spacecraft, and that's what I do most of the time. Right now, I'm not in the lab. I should be in the lab, and I know the lab is watching,
Oh, really?
so I'll be there in a couple hours,
Well,
guys.
stop looking like you're enjoying yourself. Like, this is work. This is
Yeah,
work. Yeah.
and so, so the lab, we it's just the most amazing engineers. I absolutely,
Mm.
admire these people so much. They're gonna be so mad at me because I don't name them all. But we are led by our fearless leader, Bobby, which is
Right.
awesome. And so the team is just working to make sure that we have all the technology that we need to build these spacecraft. And then the other program, Mavis is our Mars ascent vehicle. The
Right.
Mars ascent vehicle integrated system. So the MAV itself is the for the Mars sample return, we have the lander, and then we have the rocket that's going to take the samples off of Mars, and then we've got the orbiter that's going to bring it back. So,
Right.
what I'm working on is the Mars ascent vehicle part that's going to take the samples and launch them off the Martian surface.
Mm. And what's the
And
hardest part of that? Where's the is there any particular?
it's interesting because I've worked spacecraft.
Mm.
I've always worked spacecraft systems. This is a rocket. I've never
Mm.
been, I like I said, I have the rocket propulsion degree, but I've never actually built a rocket.
Right.
Spacecraft have rockets on them. We've got, reaction engine assemblies. We've got different rockets to get us to different orbits,
Mm.
to, maintain our orbits. But I've never actually worked on a legit multi-stage rocket.
Right.
So
Right.
so that's probably the coolest part of it is actually being able to kind of get back to the root of that.
Right. Right.
So,
You get to
yeah.
finally pull out to dust off the
The
rocket
degree,
portion. I
yeah.
realize I have just been talking to you for over an hour, and we have not gone to questions or anything
Oh,
because you're.
are there
But
questions?
I'm sure there will be.
Okay.
I do have a question for you myself though, because you're talking about these nuclear powered spacecraft.
Yeah.
What is the is there a different way that that's done on the spacecraft? I mean, are you using this? Are you using like the salt, whatever they call like the salt cooled ones, or how does it like? What are you using any kind of different type of system for that?
Sorry, for what part?
Well, for
For
this is for the what were they called the first mission you were talking about the
Jetson.
Jetson. Yeah, what are the how do you integrate nuclear onto those into these things? How I mean,
So
is it?
the stuff we're doing right now, I don't want to get too much in the weeds, but
Mm,
it's basically the nuclear system will
mm,
provide the energy, and we have to be able to take that energy and put it into a system we can use. So we need to get the right voltages, the right currents out of it. We need to be
mm,
able to package it, send it to our computing system, send it to the thruster system, send it to
mm,
the GNC systems. We need to be able to take this nuclear reactor energy that is not, you can't turn it off. It's on, it's on.
right. Yeah.
So we have to be able to control what we
Mm,
take from it and tell it
mm,
what we want. And then we need to be able to get rid of the rest.
right. And these
And
will
so,
run technically. These will run for much longer than anything else you've used before.
yeah, I'm not sure what because there's so many different types of nuclear material that people could be using in space. So I'm not sure what all the half-lives are,
Mm,
but yeah, I know that they can run for a very long time. The Mars rovers on Mars have the RTGs, the
mm,
radioisotope thermal generators. Right,
mm.
I'm
Where is
screwing
that?
that
And
up.
that's where the breaking down causes a
It
heat.
causes
And then
heat. It's the
yeah,
heat, and then we turn that heat into
yeah, yeah.
energy, and we use that energy to charge our batteries, to
So cool.
use for different stuff. Um, we're not the part that always cracks me up is when I watch The Martian and I see Mark Watney put the nuclear, um reactor behind him so that he can be warm inside the little Mars
Yeah,
rover as he's trying to get to Scaparelli crater. But yeah, so that's pretty much it. We use
glowing warm.
heat into mechanical energy into electrical energy into thruster energy.
Right.
Like
So it's basically trying to
it's just
have
all rocket
everything
science,
covered.
David.
I, I know, I know. I didn't mean to get too much into it.
It's
I'm just fascinated by that side. I don't know why. I
yeah,
just, I grew up with this sort of the love hate of nuclear energy, and I just
yeah.
feel like it's something that's got a kind of a bad rap, especially when you look at all the other stuff
Yeah, and we can
polluting the
do it
world.
safely.
Yeah.
We can do it safely, and that's what we work on every day is making sure that we have a safe
Mm,
enough system that it's reliable and we reduce as much risk as possible.
mm.
Um, but yeah, we use a lot of nuclear energy in the United States alone.
Yeah, Canada. I
So
was certainly Ontario as well. Yeah, we've got
yeah,
a Pickering power plant, which I keep meaning to go and. The last thing I filmed was the end of the street was the Pickering power plant. I kept going like, oh, I got to go in and do a little tour. Okay, let me just go. Let me check for questions now because I guarantee you the fabulous Agne will be on it. You feel free to grab a sip of coffee or something while I geek out with my various things. Here we go. Questions. I knew it. Okay, I'll let you have your coffee first.
it's
Have a
tea.
coffee. Here's a question.
It's
Um,
tea.
oh, tea. Really?
Yes,
I can only do tea in the morning. I find tea. I get too wired on tea.
it is
Coffee.
morning.
Yeah. Oh, it is. Of course it is.
It's morning for
Oh,
me.
that's right. It's bloody early for you, isn't it? So sorry. And also, let us know time wise where you're at too. How long you've got? Another what?
Oh,
15
I'm
minutes or so.
fine. I'm not even. Yeah, I'm good.
Okay, right. All right, so we got questions. Wayne Taylor, Wayne says, "How do you create Martian geology in the test bed?" That's a good question. How do you
So
make it look like
we what ours was, it was crushed garnet.
Mars?
Crushed garnet is January's birthstone. It's a gemstone, and so the reason we used it is because we're in an indoor test bed.
Mm-hmm.
So we didn't want to create dust and dirt and stuff in our indoor test bed. And so what the closest thing we could get to the Martian regolith of the different surfaces of Mars
Mm-hmm.
was this crushed garnet. It basically just allowed us to, when we set our instruments down in front of the lander, the feet dug into the ground and it was still supportive enough. So we kind of had to use what we could possibly find to put into that test bed.
Mm-hmm.
With that said, um, when Spirit got stuck on Mars, they decided that the regolith that Spirit had gotten stuck in was similar to diatomaceous earth, just like
Hmm.
a white, chalky,
Yeah.
powdery
Yeah.
stuff. So they put
Horrible.
that in the test bed.
Hmm.
And so when they were finished doing all the Spirit testing, I guess they just didn't get it all out or something happened. So even when we were in there with Insight, if you picked up a big like handful of garnet and dropped it, you get this little white poof, all
Right.
the
Right.
diatomaceous earth flying out.
Oh my God, that stuff is just
Um,
well, and regolith is like that though. It's like it is nasty stuff.
Regolith is just anything that's on the Martian surface.
Yeah.
It's
But
we
it's
can't call it
sharp, it's
dirt because I don't know.
damaging,
Yeah.
it's radioactive, isn't it? Like
Yeah,
or
there's a lot of rocks. So I remember when they were doing Pathfinder,
hmm,
they used the scablands of Washington up near
hmm.
Soap Lake as their like testing ground
Is it actually
for
called the Scablands? That's
it's the
literally what it's
scablands,
that is a
yes.
terrible, terrible name for
It's the
oh,
land that was created when the huge ice dam during the Ice Age from
yeah.
Montana came and just
Scraped it
took
all
out
off.
eastern Washington.
Yeah, yeah,
That's why we've got such fertile land, I think.
yeah.
But
Yeah, we've got
so
the what do we got? We got the Welland Canal. The same thing. We got the
yeah,
glacier shoved all the wonderful
yeah.
dirt into that. Yeah.
So the ground that we built up, that we Mars formed
Mm.
was garnet, and then with the diatomaceous earth inside of it, and then we used Mars lights. A lot of people don't realize this, but we had an entire Mars light system, like a Hollywood lighting system, in the test bed
Huh.
because we needed to simulate the Martian sun for our
Oh,
cameras to work
oh
properly to make
wow.
sure that they were calibrated correctly.
Oh
And
right.
so
Yeah, you don't be looking at something with with the sun behind it or something, and then not being able to see. Yeah,
yeah,
I
yeah.
got it. Yeah. Okay.
So
Wow.
we had a pretty cool setup there in our test bed. But
And is that? I mean, how much of that is? How much of the actual physical simulation is done now compared to the? Because I imagine there's an awful lot of digital simulation as
we
well.
did we a lot of it was done digitally first, but we always ran everything on Foresight,
Huh.
which is so aptly named.
I know. Fantastic. Yeah.
When Nick came up with that, I was like, "Oh my god, that's perfect."
Almost as good as Scabland.
It's
Yeah.
and so, we ran everything there, and we made sure I mean, the accuracy that we worked to when we built the Martian surface in front of the lander, once we landed on Mars, we
Mm.
had to make everything perfect, and so we used HoloLens. So
Oh wow.
we put HoloLens on, and we had taken all the imagery of the Martian surface. We knew where the lander was. Because there was two, we would take two cameras to create stereo images, so
Mm.
that we could have a 3D version of the Martian surface.
Right.
And so we had practiced this so many times when we were before we had landed on Mars. We wanted to
Mm.
practice Mars forming,
Right.
and so we would take all these pictures of the test bed in a setup, and then we'd screw it up, we'd move the lander, and then we would reposition the lander to what we remember, like what it was when we had originally taken the images, and then we put the HoloLens on and we reformed everything. Took
Wow.
the imaging again, and then one of the really smart guys on imaging actually did like an accuracy, like how close were we to
Oh
matching
wow.
what we had done, and we had
Right.
done a really good job within like a centimeter of accuracy.
Because basically you could see it.
Yeah, and
Yeah. And
so
plus you're really
landing
good at
day
counting
comes.
rocks.
Yes, I'm fabulous at counting rocks. So then landing day happens. They take all the images and they say, "Okay, this is the real thing. You know, we have to actually this is what we've been working towards." So I put the HoloLens on.
Hmm.
And I don't know why it didn't occur to me that I wasn't going to see an old test bed setup. I put the HoloLens on and I see a red planet,
Oh
and I'm
wow.
standing on Mars. And I I got super emotional, but I was like, "I'm working, stop cross," like, my
Yeah.
eyes wouldn't stop leaking,
Oh
and
wow.
so I was like, "Okay, just take a moment," and, like, after I realized that, there were
Mm.
people standing around. We didn't have HoloLens for everyone, so there's kind
Mm.
of people just standing around, and I was like, "You have to put this on.
Yeah.
Come stand over here and put this on." So
Wow.
everyone got a chance to kinda walk around the surface of Mars, and then we got to work, but that afternoon on my drive home,
Mm.
I had to pull over because I started bawling. Like, I was
Wow.
crying, just full on tears that I couldn't believe that that's what I did at work that day.
Yeah, yeah.
That
You
I
stood on
walked
Mars.
on I stood on Mars and I did what I was trained to do. I built the workspace in front of me so that all the engineers could, use the robotic arm, just pick up their
Wow.
instruments, set them down on the Martian surface.
Is that the
So
future, do you think, this kind of this HoloLens type stuff?
we use it. I know they use it a lot at JPL for the Mars rovers
Hmm.
when they're trying to figure out where to go next. They can put the HoloLens on. They can walk around,
Right.
figure out where they
Right.
want to go next on Mars, which is absolutely fascinating.
Mm.
I,
And
I
I've never actually used them. I mean, I've tried some VR stuff. It just makes me sick. So, but the advantage, I guess, is just that's just we process better that way because that's what we're used to seeing, type thing. Or
I'm not sure. So ours was I've done VR. This was augmented reality, so not
oh, of
virtual
course, you did.
reality.
Yes,
So it was overlaid
that I
on
love.
the surface.
Yeah, that's brilliant.
And so I could see the people standing in front of me, but I could also see, and it's interesting because I look up and I see the lander and I see the
Right, right.
people, but I look down and I see Mars.
That's
Um,
great. Yeah,
so
that seems
it was,
that I'm very sort of optimistic about the augmented reality side of stuff.
and as you get closer to something, it moves like you're actually moving closer to it. So we could get down there and like start moving, like brushing away the
Mm,
surface to get it to the right height. We put all the rocks where they needed to go. I mean, I think there's a photo out there of me and Pranay, the other engineer, and we're out there with like our measuring
yeah,
sticks.
measuring. I saw them. Yeah, yeah.
We're like trying to make sure, like, is this exactly where it needs to? Is this rock placed exactly
Oh,
where it
that's
needs to be?
wild. The
Um,
attention to detail. Is your house incredibly organized?
Sometimes.
Okay, all right, okay. Yeah, I think maybe Jane should be in at there as well because she's pretty good at that. This is my own little space where I can live in my chaos. That is my chaos.
Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. That's a great question. Great question, Wayne. Um, uh, okay. Deanna Julian Slevin says, which high school class is best prepared you for? Oh, this is a great question. Which high school class is best prepared you for your career, and what would you tell young girls who are interested in a potential space career?
My high school was very small. So
Mm,
we didn't have a lot of classes that we could take. So the highest math class my high school offered was pre-calculus.
mm,
And we did the first half of the book. And
right,
that was my junior year. So my senior year, I asked the math teacher, "Can I just keep going? Because there's no other math classes, but I need to I need to keep
yeah.
learning math."
I got to be an
And
astronaut.
so
Yeah.
yeah, so, remember when I said in Mexico I learned to teach myself really well? So then I spent an entire, class my senior year just doing the rest of the pre-calc book by myself.
Wow.
Going through that so that when I went to college, I could keep up with everybody,
Mm,
in the algebra or the calculus classes,
right,
and stuff like that. So that was helpful. I did take physics in high school. Um, that was not required. I think the required classes in the United States are like biology and chemistry, but I took geology, which was a lot of fun.
right, right.
So yeah, so high school not so much. College was amazing. College I took the fun thing about university is they make you take like arts classes to graduate,
Right.
which was so helpful because, I'm in calculus, physics, chemistry, advanced calculus, multivariable calculus, linear
Mhm,
algebra, like just the math and science and engineering that is required to get a degree in engineering is so
mm,
heavy that when someone comes to you and says you have to take an art class to graduate, you think, okay, what am I going to do?
yeah.
So I took the history of American film, and
Oh,
it
wow.
was the most amazing class because we had a professor, Professor Bridgman, who, um, if you did the math, he could not have been old enough to be an adult in the 1920s. But when he talked about it, it was like he was there.
Really?
Metro Goldwyn and Mayer, they were all his best friends.
Really?
And, he made us watch, Sunset Boulevard is what we
Oh,
watched, which is
fantastic.
such a great movie.
It was
We
the
watched
movies that got
yeah,
small. Yeah.
Citizen Kane.
Ah, yeah, yeah.
So he just
They just
listening
sold
to him
Rosebud. You
was
hear about
so
this?
fascinating.
The
What?
prop, the prop Rosebud, the sleigh. They just sold that as the second most expensive sale of a Hollywood prop ever. Yeah. The first being the ruby red, the ruby
The
slippers
ruby
from,
slippers,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
Right. I
yeah,
cut you off.
yeah, but it was absolutely amazing to be able to, go from my multivariable calculus class to
Mm,
history of American film, which was
mm.
awesome. And then I also did Latin film. So I did
Oh,
um, Mexican film. I think it was just Spanish film. I don't know. It was
yeah.
Spanish language films, um, and I took a couple Spanish classes for arts classes
Mm.
because I already spoke Spanish. I was like, this. I need something
I
easy
need
right
something easy.
now.
Yeah, I don't something the
I can,
opposite of
yeah,
calculus.
I
Yeah,
need
yeah.
something that I can quickly do when I have 15 minutes left in my day to do all my homework. Um,
Do you
so
think the mix? Do you think the mix of art is important from the science side as well? Do you think it opens you up to ideas that? Well, there you go. Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
I think art is so important because it's every time you see a picture of a spacecraft before it's launched, it's an artist rendition.
Mm,
Usually, it's like this
mm,
is what it's going to look like. This is what we're doing. These are the videos. Um, to visualize something,
mm,
especially for engineers, visualization is so important. We need
mm,
to be able to see need to be able to see something, to learn something, to know what I'm doing, whether it's a procedure, a written procedure that I need to commit to memory, or a photo of something that I need to memorize to know what I'm gonna do.
mm.
Like all of our CAD drawings and stuff like that, that I
Right.
have to
Yeah.
like memorize so I know, okay, when I connect these two connectors, does that look right?
Right.
Why is
And you've seen it before because you've
I
seen it on the computer.
yeah,
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
have a lab at Lockheed called the Chill Lab, where you can do the augmented reality and you can
Oh,
go in with a spacecraft and you can make sure your hand fits somewhere or we're able to
oh
reach this
wow.
connector. And so a lot of that is I think is art. We need to be able to not only digitally create this art, but also do things like the posters behind me where we can inspire people, where we can
Mm,
tell the public like this is what we're doing, these are the amazing programs and the amazing places we're going.
mm,
So that's what I find awesome. And I think that's something that was awesome when we were at JPL was to have the design studio there
mm,
doing stuff like this for us so we could go out and talk to kids in schools
mm,
and and show them awesome images of the stuff that we're doing.
mm. And
There's
having
the
that vision
one
of where you want to go too, as a kid, being able to see where you want to be is so powerful.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
sorry, what were you saying?
I was gonna remember yesterday I had the Jupiter poll
Yeah,
up here.
yeah.
I changed these up for you so you don't have to stare at the same
Oh, it
thing all
is
the time.
different. Oh, okay. Yeah, because there's that beautiful one of the pole. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, so if you ever like look up the Juno images of Jupiter's poles, they're these
Mm,
beautiful blue just
mm,
images and it's absolutely amazing. So I mean, I feel like the planets themselves give us really good art too.
mm, mm.
So
That's fantastic. I'm fascinated by it because I found one of my frustrations when I was at school, which was a long time ago before you for sure, was that there were these pillars. There was these you were either in the arts or the science. The idea that you would do both was completely foreign to anybody in the educational system that I was in. So
yeah,
I was put in. I was like, oh, you're gonna be an actor. You know that screw all the science stuff. Which of course I
yeah.
loved. I used to love that stuff. So,
And it's interesting when I've read so many interviews where actors are like, I wanted to be an Tom Cruise wanted to be an astronaut when he was
hmm
younger. There's people like Matt Damon who get to play astronauts.
mm.
And so I think a lot of it is just so much fun. And I was really glad when they added the A to STEM and it became STEAM.
Yeah, I love Steam. Yeah,
And I was
I
like,
think I put
yeah,
myself down as a Steam nerd. I think on the
yeah.
poster for this. Yeah.
And so it's nice because it added the art back into it because so much of this is just artistry of not only engineering but
Mm,
artistry of the way that things are designed. The
mm,
ability to think outside the box to create a technology or create a solution that no one else has thought of because it
mm.
hasn't been done before.
It's the first
So
stage of engineering is the dreaming phase. I
yes.
remember someone told me that, and I was like, "Wow, that's great. It makes me feel better about science fiction." Do you okay? Speaking of films, any specific sci-fi films that you spoke to you as a young
My
astronaut?
favorite movie, I actually just recommended this to some of my coworkers because
Mm.
I'm realizing I'm much older than a lot of my coworkers who are
It just
starting
gets worse, Marlene. It just gets worse
and
and
so
worse.
I was sitting in a room and I was like, "You have to watch The Right Stuff." Like, The
Oh
Right
yeah.
Stuff was just from, Chuck Yeager, the beginning of flying past the sound barrier to the Mercury 7 astronauts to Gordo Cooper. Um, And I just love how they did that
Oh, beautifully done.
from beginning to end
Did you
of
read the
that
book?
program. No.
The book is a
I've
really
That's what
fun
everyone
read.
keeps telling me. I
Yeah,
read
because I watched
so
the movie.
much, but I just
Yeah.
haven't gotten to
Yeah, it's
that one.
true,
I
yeah,
have it. It's
yeah.
in my
It's
bookcase,
just
but
it's one of those ones that when I read it, I was surprised at how enjoyable it was to read. Like, it was
okay,
just as enjoyable as the movie was to watch. I mean, yeah,
okay.
yeah.
I did read The Martian before I
Oh, yeah,
watched the movie.
that
That
was
was
fan
such a good book.
oh, I've
Um,
heard that his new one is very good, apparently. Is that
yes, the Project Hail Mary or the Hail
or
Mary Project?
yeah, something like that, I can't remember,
Hail
yeah.
Mary
I
Project.
think Ryan
Um,
Gosling's doing it as a movie or something, isn't he? But, yeah, anyways. But, yeah, he's on your list as well, the Martian guy.
yes, Andrew Weir? Andy Weir?
Yes. Yeah, yeah,
Andy
yeah.
Weir. Yeah,
And I
he's one of
thought the
my
film
favorites.
did a great job of it. I mean, I know they had to do some Hollywood stuff, but it felt more real than most of the other stuff I'd seen.
I think that was the closest science one that I've
Mm,
seen in a film, other than Apollo 13, which is
right.
just pure documentary
Yeah, yeah.
information, right?
Yeah, basically.
Um, but it was that one I really liked Away, with what's her name? She won all those Academy Awards.
Oh, not, Hathaway.
No, Hilary Swank.
Hilary Swank.
Hilary Swank did a
Okay.
show called Away. I think it's on
Oh, I
Netflix,
can see that. Okay,
and it's
alright.
them going to Mars.
Oh, wow, okay.
Yeah, and it's a series television show, one season. It was absolutely amazing. I really like that one.
I've heard All Mankind for All Mankind is good too, apparently. That's
I haven't
another one.
seen that one
No,
yet.
neither have I. I'm so behind on television, it's
Three
ridiculous.
Body Problem.
Oh,
That one was a lot of fun to
I've
watch.
started reading that because I didn't love the show,
Okay.
but I loved the concept, so I thought, "Oh, I'll read the book," and oh my god,
Orbital mechanics are hard. It's so
it's
hard.
so
When I
reading is
saw that, I
hard
was
these
like,
days.
"Yes, I understand."
Yeah. I mean, even
Um,
reading is difficult these days. I find my attention span is getting TikTok small.
yeah.
All right, what do we got? What else we've got? Do you mind you have room for 2 more questions?
Yep, I'm
Okay.
good.
Mental Projects asks a number of questions. Has there been a project you've worked on that was just the most interesting or fun thing for you? Like, is there any standout, you know?
I think I've talked a lot about it, Insight. Insight was probably my favorite so far career program that I worked on
Mhm.
because I was so hands-on and I was
Literally,
so
yeah.
present and so involved and the people were amazing. So that's one of the things like when you work with awesome people, you can actually enjoy going to work every day. Like you're
Yeah,
going to go hang out with your friends. You guys are going to play with robots in a sandbox. You're going to
makes such a difference.
yeah, and so that was probably my favorite one. A close second, as horrible as it sounded when I was doing it, because we were doing 12-hour shifts. That the EFT-1 launch in Florida when I
Yeah.
lived there for like a year.
You're sleeping under the desk. You
That one, because I think we were all in the trenches together,
mm,
it really, like, tightened us as friends. Like, I still
mm,
talk to some of the guys that are retired. They've been retired for years, and I still text with them, like, "What are you guys doing? How many fish did you catch today?"
right, right.
Just 'cause it's like we became such a close-knit family because all of us were traveling. We didn't have our family and our normal
Yeah,
friends there
yeah.
with us, so we'd all live in this
Mm.
hotel together and go to work for 12 hours a day and just work, work, work.
That's the filmmaking
So
thing. It's the same thing where you're in these intense friendships for a couple of months, maybe at the most, and then
yeah. But it's fun. I absolutely love it. Right now, I think my new favorite is the Jetson Lab
yeah.
because we're in there and we're just all trying to get this thing to work and it's work when it works, you're like excited and everyone's happy. We're like, it works.
We're geniuses.
Yeah,
We're
and so
idiots when it's not working. Yeah, yeah. I love that.
so it's so much fun. I absolutely love this team that I'm on right now. So
And is there any sort of a timeline for that one for the Jetson? Is there any sort of
Jetson, I think we're trying to get off the ground before 2030. I
okay?
know that. So
And do you get any pushback on the nuclear side of stuff? Because I know people have real issues with there's
not
sort of
yet. I personally haven't. I know we do have steps where we need to get permission to launch
right,
a nuclear satellite. So I know that that's stuff that the company is doing and working on and making
mm,
sure that we get all the right permissions to get this stuff working. But I know a lot of companies are working
mhm,
nuclear energy right now. Um,
Energy's huge right now, isn't it? It's so
yeah.
it's we've
It's
got
the
a
next thing, it's the next big thing, that's what we're gonna be able to go to Mars with,
mm.
we're gonna be able to explore the solar system,
Well,
and
and of
so
course,
we
AI takes a lot of power as well, so there's gonna be it's all that side of stuff as well. Everyone's building new, data centers, so I guess they've gotta power all this stuff, right?
Yeah, yeah, a lot of work.
Um, what else we got? Has there been a technology you've worked on that at the time was revolutionary and is now commonplace? That's a great question.
Nothing I've worked on yet is commonplace, I don't think. Um,
I love that that's your answer because my answer, I thought you were trying to find something that was right. No, you're like, yeah, everything we do is going to be
no, I can't think of anything. Everything that we've done is so novel at the time that it's not something I can even think of. Like, I know that there's things that NASA has created
mm,
for my time that is something I use every day.
right.
I sleep on a Tempur-Pedic bed. So
Mm. Is that
the
space?
foam mattresses came from NASA technology.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, memory
Okay.
foam.
Wow.
There's just so I mean GPS systems that I use on my drive to work or drive to, so I don't hit traffic on the way to the city. Like
Mm,
that's all stuff that I have not worked on GPS. That was also something that was before my time, but
mm,
it's all stuff that I use.
mm.
But since not since I started working as anything.
Wow. So I guess the gestation period for these things to get into the sort of the consumer world is quite long.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. So
Um, that's pretty neat though. So you're working at a company that's at the forefront of all of this stuff.
it's so much fun. I really enjoy working on the space satellites and everything.
Mm,
Um I try to stay on the space side only because that's what I want to do. Like I
right.
know my passion is astronautics, and so
Right.
that's what I always
Right.
focus on and try to get on those programs. What's the next program? What's the next
Mm.
program? So,
I was fascinated by their cybersecurity stuff too. That's another one of my areas of just I don't know why I just love that stuff. I don't understand most of
yeah.
it. But we got an AI question for you. Does AI have a place in space travel? Is it reliable enough to be made part of critical systems?
I do think it's going to be part of space travel. As far as being reliable enough for critical systems,
Mm,
I don't know. I'm trying to think of what we would use it for. Um, the critical systems we build are always so they're we have redundant everything. So
right.
on the Orion
Right.
spacecraft, there's redundancy after redundancy after redundancy. And so if something fails, we go into what we call safe mode.
Mm,
Like find a way that we can make the spacecraft safe until we can
mm,
figure out what happened,
right.
what went
Right.
wrong.
That's when the
So
duct tape
I
comes
can
out.
s
You start
yeah, I
putting
can
it
see AI in the place of, like, sounding the alarm and
together.
saying, "Hey, this went wrong. In the test that we ran, these 3 different times in the last 10 years, this is what the problem was. This is the first thing that could probably be wrong. This is the second thing that could probably be wrong, and this is
Mm,
the third." Um, I can see it doing that where it kind of shortens our thought process of troubleshooting, like, help in
right.
the troubleshooting process. But as far as there's so many intricacies in the spacecraft that we have, in the software, in the way that the brains of the spacecraft, the computing systems are wired that um, I can see it helping, but I think we're going to need a human in the loop just to make sure,
Oh yeah.
because we are when the astronauts are in space, they're the ones relying to make sure like they got to be able to rely on
Yeah,
themselves.
you don't want something hallucinating back when you say, we've got a problem with oxygen." Yeah, it's not generally. It's funny. It's as I said, it's. I'm absolutely fascinated by it, but at the same time, I do think that it's like a lot of these technologies. I feel like there's this huge sort of boom and bust kind of like push. There's a lot of pushing of it, I guess, because the need takes a lot of money.
Hmm.
I worry a little bit about that sometimes. But okay, so with projects like Blue Origin and SpaceX becoming more and more available to regular civilians, what does that mean, in your opinion? For the future of space travel, space tours, space taxis?
I do enjoy that the industry is going more into the public side. They're getting the
Mm,
public involved. The
mm,
public can come in and experience this with the rest of the folks who have gone to space, the
mm,
astronauts,
mm,
the people who get to work on these programs. I think the more that we can get the public on board and see how great of technology and engineering this is,
Mm,
I think the more we're going to be able to continue to build the technologies that
mm.
we need to go explore the solar system and learn.
You had fascinating advice for you said the bright-eyed, bushy-tailed students who came in to work, and you have to explain to them your perspective on how this all works. And I think that might be worth sharing with people because I was fascinated by it.
It was so it's just everything's constantly changing.
Mm,
We went from back in the 60s, we launched our first satellites. By
mm,
the end of the 60s, we had landed on the moon. So I feel like every 10, 20 years, 5, 10 years, um, the the goal of space policy and space exploration to the whole world changes.
mm,
So we decided we're going to go to the moon. Okay, we went to the moon, and then we thought we're going to go to Mars. And so the way that the United States um, approach that is we have to learn how to live in space. So we're going
mm,
to build a space shuttle. We're going to build the International Space Station. We're going to learn to live and put as astronauts in space for long periods of time and see what happens to the human body. And so now that we know that information, now they're saying, okay, now we can go to Mars. When we go to Mars, how are we going to get there? If we can launch off the moon with all of the fuel and all of the systems we need, it's so much easier to launch off the moon. So I think that's why the Artemis program has us going back to the moon,
mm,
setting up the base so we can get all the fuel and everything, the water and oxygen and hydrogen that we need from the moon, launch that off to Mars,
mm.
and be able to go explore Mars. And to get to Mars faster, and back, we need that nuclear technology so
Right,
that we
right.
can burn our engines longer getting there and then getting back
And
quicker
slowing
too.
down once you get there without worrying
Slowing down.
about running out
Yeah.
of right. Yeah.
Speed up halfway there and then you slow down the other halfway there.
Yeah, the mechanics of that stuff is I never even thought about it. It's like, well,
Mhm.
why wouldn't you just like motor out there as fast as you can? Because you got to slow down when you get there, and that uses just as
Just
much
gonna go
fuel.
past it.
So many things, yeah, so many things to think about. It's is there anything? I mean, future wise, is there anything that you're really? I mean, we're talking about Mars.
Yeah.
I'm not entirely sure why Mars is such an obsession. I mean, what is it about Mars that why do we want to be on Mars? Sounds
The
horrible.
way the way I see it, a lot of times, just the technology we need to get there can often help us back on Earth.
Okay,
So
right.
much of the technology that we created for Apollo and for the space shuttle, the heating tiles, being able
Mm,
to protect ourselves with different thermal systems,
mm,
um, a lot of that technology that we put into the work is some stuff that we can use back here on Earth. So I feel like if we can create the technologies to go to Mars, I feel like a lot of that technology we're going to be able to use back here on Earth
mm,
to enhance, the lives on Earth as
mm,
well. And I think someone said it once. It was a friend of mine in a TED talk. He said, "Think of the three most memorable moments in your life, whether they're good, whether they're bad. Where do you remember being when something happened?"
mm,
And a lot of people said the moon landing, JFK assassination, and Princess Diana dying.
mm.
Of those three, the moon landing was the only positive one. So it's stuff that you're going to remember for the rest of your life and is going to have a lasting impact where
Wow.
you remember where you were that day and you remember feeling happy and you remember being excited because it was something that the human race had accomplished that you felt like, yeah, you almost feel like you're part of it
Yeah, yeah.
because as a human you're
We're
like, we
human.
did that.
Yeah,
We
yeah,
all did
yeah,
that
yeah, yeah.
together. So I think that's one of the things that I would really like to experience in my life is a moon
Mm.
landing and a Mars landing if we can.
Wow, those interesting. Wow. And any technologies? I mean, well, obviously we know what technologies you're excited about. It's the nuclear side of stuff, but
I'm really excited to get the nuclear systems up and running just because I think that's gonna really help get the power we need to get to
yeah,
Mars and get back. Um,
we just don't have any other options, really, do we? I can't think of anything else. Not that I would be the one to do that, but
there's yeah, just we have ways to get to Mars right now. They
mm,
just take us a long time.
right,
So
right.
yeah.
Oh, there's more questions. Are you okay if I've got one more question for you here?
One more question.
Okay, one more question.
One
All
more
right, Nolan
question.
Tarek asks, Marlene, have you read the Lady Astronaut series by Mary Robinson Kowal?
No.
Apparently, they love it.
Okay.
There you go. So you got a book recommendation.
What's it called?
It's called The Lady Astronaut series by Mary Robinette Cowell.
The Lady Astronaut
Yeah,
series.
yeah.
Okay,
Oh,
I'll
okay, so I
add
have
it
to
to
look that
my
up.
list.
I'll tell you, our fabulous audience is amazing at book and movie recommendations.
Good.
I find stuff all the time, and I will say this to everyone: thank you so much for all your questions. Thank you for all of your
Thank you,
comments.
guys.
While I do these chats, I just want to focus on our geniuses, so I tend not to look at the chat. Agnes been wonderful and got us a bunch of questions and stuff, but Marleen, I like. Can you come back every week? I mean, this is like so great. I can't. It's also just such a pleasure for me because
Yeah.
I get to
I
catch
always
up
like
with my
talking
friends.
to you anyways. It's nice
It's
to
so much
talk to you
fun.
in front of an
Exactly.
audience.
Yeah, even we got a good excuse for it. So I think this is just an excuse for me to talk to people who I like to talk to. So,
Awesome.
yeah. How do people now? Do people get in touch with you? How do you like to be seen online
Um,
and stuff? What's your
I don't do a lot of social media.
Yeah, me neither anymore.
All of my social media is like, "Hey guys, watch this launch."
Right.
Like,
Well, that's
"Hey guys,
fine. There you
look
go.
how exciting this is." I mean, I have a LinkedIn page. I think you linked it in the
Yeah,
email that you
yeah,
sent
yeah.
out in Tech Bandits
I
earlier
like
today.
LinkedIn because it's always a little bit more formal. Like
Yeah.
I don't need to see people at parties. I would like, it's like,
Yeah, but yeah, other than that, I'm on Instagram, but I don't really post.
mm. Lockheed
Mm.
Martin as well has a great website. I got to say, I'm
Lockheed's website is great.
yeah,
They also have a lot of social media accounts
yeah,
for the company that talks about all the ridiculously awesome stuff we're
yeah.
doing. And then JPL has all their stuff. JPL has a lot of podcasts, which is kind of fun to
Oh, do
listen
they?
to.
I haven't.
Yeah, they've got so I was on one called On a Mission, and then I
Oh,
think
I
there's
think I
like
saw that.
Rocket
Yeah,
Ranch and Houston, we have a podcast. And so there's like a bunch of really cool
it's good.
podcasts
All
that
right, so to
NASA
check
does.
them out too. All right,
Yeah,
fantastic.
so a
So
lot
we
of
can.
stuff to listen to.
I'll throw some of the stuff in the description and so that people can have a look. But Marlene, again, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me. Thank you for everyone for watching.
Oh my God, I
Um,
know it's
for the
fantastic.
folks in the lab, I'll be there in like
Oh yeah,
30
I'm
minutes.
almost there. I'm sorry I'm late. It was David. He was talking too much.
I'm coming.
Uh, and in the
Yeah.
meantime, I'll say to everyone until we geek again, I will say, be brave, be kind, be brilliant, cheerio, and huzzah, because that's the name of the dog.
Bye,
Thanks,
guys.
everyone. I'm going to end the stream now, and I'll just say goodbye, Marlene. Thank you all. Ending the stream.